The Women's Center is located behind the Campus Center on 55 Talbot Avenue. In the house, there is a living room and a library where students come together to do their homework or to take naps and to also meet at student groups. We have a sitting area, which is an extension of the library and highlights books and crafts and things like that. And we also have a dining room off of the kitchen where students have the ability to either cook in the center. We have a refrigerator where they can store their food, or we can store snacks. So the Women's Center also has a computer lab. The computer lab is inside of the Peggy Barrett Library, and we also do have free printing. But unfortunately, because of COVID and because of the social distancing guidelines, that won't be available in the physical space this year. The Women's Center was also founded out of protest. There basically was some very misogynist events that were happening on campus. So as a result, the women on campus felt that they needed a space in order to collaborate, feel safe, and also support each other and feeling respected. So the Women's Center was founded in 1972 and has been going strong since then. The Women's Center here at Tufts, I would say, is a special type of center. We really do decentralize and tease apart gender variance, gender expression, gender identity, as well as sexual orientation. So oftentimes in the Women's Center, we are having very important conversations around how those identities also interact with systems of oppression, right? And so as we know, or as maybe we don't know, oftentimes women's centers, very much like LGBT centers, are majority white, they're majority cisgender, and oftentimes in these women's centers, they're mostly heterosexual women. So what we try to do is make sure that we are talking about gender as a whole and not just gender as it stems to like gender essentialism, which basically means if you have this and this, that means that you're a woman. That's not what we ascribe to at all. We try to make sure that we are pulling apart and teasing out gender theory and gender identity theory, and also making sure we're relating it back to scholarship and conversations that we wouldn't typically have if we were not inside of the Women's Center. So it's a really great space to just go in and learn from each other, kind of sit in around like, what are these folks talking about as it relates to gender and identity and womanness or femness, and then understanding that femme looks very different, that we make sure that we are creating a space where trans women and non-binary femmes feel very comfortable, creating a space where men or folks who identify as men are able to come in and talk about gender as well. So we don't want folks to think that it's just for women, because it's not. This is for everybody who wants to talk about systems of oppression and then how gender plays a large role in those systems. We also do not ascribe to the peer leader concept. We have interns who serve as leaders and mentors within the community to make sure students are getting their footing and also supporting them in creating programming that maybe they want to see, as well as participating and entering in the space in ways that they feel comfortable. So a way to stay in touch with the Women's Center is virtually, so make sure you're checking your Instagram. The Women's Center has a newsletter that you're checking updates for on our website as well as on Facebook. So there are a lot of events and programmings that we'll have an opportunity to be a part of, whether you're remote or you're on campus.